Hey guys, and welcome to Ardent Sports. And in the blink of an eye, the MLB regular season is behind us. It was only 60 games for most teams. There were two teams that played 59 games and two teams that played 58 games. But lo and behold, the season is indeed behind us. So with that being said, I am here with my MLB 2020 Postseason Predictions. I'm going to talk about the new wildcard series, the NLDS, the NLCS, the ALDS, the ALCS, and, in fact, the World Series. Everything is scheduled to wrap up by October 28th, and that is if every single series goes to a Game 7, or 5, or 3, depending on how you look at it. So I'm going to start it off with the AL Wildcard Series because those are the games that happen first. If the pitching matchup is listed, I will give you guys who it is. And if it is not, then sorry. So let's get it started with Game 1 at 2 p.m. on ABC. We have Kenta Maeda and the Minnesota Twins going up against the Houston Astros with Zach Greinke on the mound. So this game is going to be in Minnesota. All three of these games are going to be in Minnesota. And this is definitely going to be an interesting series. Both teams have some pretty solid pitching and some pretty solid bats. Headlining injuries for Houston is, of course, Justin Verlander missing the rest of the season and quite possibly next season with some major injury issues. The Houston Astros finished the regular season with a negative or under 500, however you want to look at it, win-loss percentage. I believe they were 29 and 30. Yeah, 29 and 31, I believe they were. So it's amazing when you don't have fans and trash cans and microphones and earpieces and all this other crap. And the Twins just had another stellar season. The Twins have definitely turned it around over the past few years. As much as I would love to see my Yankees face off against the Astros so we can just beam the living hell out of them, I'm giving this series to Minnesota. I don't see Houston getting anything done. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if Minnesota just won it in the first two games. So next up we have at 3 p.m., so just an hour later over on ESPN, we have the Chicago White Sox led by Lucas Giolito facing off against the Chicago White Sox. This game is going to be in Oakland. And, of course, the Athletics are going to have Jesus Luzardo on the mound for them. Now, the White Sox have ended their postseason drought finally, as well as a few other teams that I'll get to. But this is going to be probably one of the tightest series, I feel, of the entire first round. Jesus Luzardo has been a pretty decent pitcher this season. Lucas Giolito, of course, had the no-hitter back in July, I believe late July or early August. Just absolutely incredible season for Giolito. Definitely probably his team's pitcher of the year. My main issue with this series in picking a winner is the White Sox have a boatload of talent. But you also have to think that the Oakland Athletics have quite a bit of playoff experience. I mean, they made it to the wild card game each of the last two seasons, and I'm pretty sure they even made it further than the wild card game last season. So I feel the need to lean more towards Oakland in this series, just due to they have the playoff experience. They know what to expect. They've played under the bright lights. Again, I don't know what exactly baseball's plan is for fans. I know the NFL has opened up most of their stadiums to 22% capacity, I believe. It's going to be a little bit tougher for baseball to go ahead and do that just because their seats are a little bit more compact and not as spread out as a football stadium. With that being said, however, I don't believe that they plan on doing anything until the Championship Series and World Series, if even that. I'm going to give this series to the Oakland Athletics The Chicago White Sox have officially cracked the playoffs. They know what they're going to get a taste for it. They're going to be hungry for it next year and hopefully a full 162-game season. But I am, in fact, going to give this series to the Oakland Athletics. AL Wildcard Game 1, Round 3 is how I'm calling it, is the 8-seed Toronto Blue Jays against the 1-seed Tampa Bay Rays. I sure as I haven't been saying the seedage for the other ones, but oh well. You got Blake Snell going for Tampa Bay, and you got Matt Shoemaker going for Toronto. I'm kind of surprised they're not rolling out Ryu Game 1, but I believe Ryu just pitched on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, so that would make sense, and probably pitch him on Wednesday, give him that extra day's rest. Toronto has, again, another team with a boatload of young talent, especially Vlad Jr., Calvin Biggio, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Bo Bichette, as well as a few others. Made a couple solid acquisitions at the deadline, but I cannot see them getting past a very strong, very offensively minded, but just enough defensively minded at the same time to prevent those runs, Tampa Bay Rays. So, especially with the whole series being in Tampa Bay, I am in fact going to give this series to Tampa Bay. I do think it will go to a Game 3, unlike the Minnesota-Houston series, and the Oakland-Chicago series I do also have going to a Game 3. Now, probably the series everyone is most looking forward to in this first round. We have the 5th seed New York Yankees throwing Garrett Cole out in Game 1. Going up against Shane Bieber, no relation to Justin, and the Cleveland Indians at 7 p.m. on ESPN. The 5 o'clock game, by the way, was on TBS. We all love our TBS games. Not. Anyway. This is going to be a very interesting series for several different reasons, rather. And honestly, even just the first game is probably going to pique a lot of interest. The last time the Yankees faced Shane Bieber was obviously in 2019, and he went 1.2 innings pitched, allowing 5 earned runs on, I believe it was 12 hits, and I think 1 strikeout and like 3 walks or something like that. So not a very good outing for Bieber. However, that was at the stadium. That was not at Progressive Field, where this series will in fact be. And Shane Bieber is obviously also a much better pitcher now than he was in 2019. Strong contention for the AL Cy Young, if he doesn't even win it, which I think he should. I'm gonna give this series to the Yankees. I think they can get it done. Let me run you guys through the rest of the matchups that they do have listed. They do have for Houston, Minnesota, Jose Barrios is going in Game 2. It is not yet determined who will go for Houston. We have Dallas Keuchel and I believe, is that Chris Bassett? Yep, Chris Bassett going for Chicago and Oakland respectively in Game 2. We have Hyunjin Ryu and Tyler Glasnow going for Toronto and Tampa Bay respectively in Game 2 of that series. And Carlos Carrasco and Masahiro Tanaka, hopefully postseason Tanaka, going for the Yankees and Indians, not respectively, in Game 2 of that series. Zach Plesac will go for the Indians, to be determined on the Yankees. The Twins are rolling out Michael Pineda. Houston has not announced. And then Charlie Morton and Taijuan Walker for the Rays and Blue Jays in that series finale, should it get that far. But my predictions for those winners, once again, are Tampa Bay, New York, Minnesota, and Houston. So in the ALDS, that would have the Rays playing against the Yankees in San Diego, and the Twins playing against the Athletics in Los Angeles. Once they get to the ALDS, and for the rest of the playoffs, they are in fact in 2 separate bubbles until conjoining for the World Series, obviously in 1 bubble, or technically 4 separate bubbles if you think about it. But conjoining to the 2 bubbles in the AL and NLCS and 1 bubble in the World Series. Moving on over to the National League, now that we are about 10 minutes into this video. First matchup of the day, we have 12 p.m. on ESPN. We have Trevor Bauer and the Cincinnati Reds going up against the Atlanta Braves, featuring Max Fried, Is it Fried or Fried? I think it's Fried. Both teams had a actually quite impressive season, more so Cincinnati more on the impressive side than Atlanta. Both teams made a couple acquisitions at the trade deadline, helping out their needs. This is definitely going to be a close series for the NL. I really like this matchup through and through, and I am going to give this series to the Atlanta Braves. I just feel that they have a lot more power, a lot more potential, a lot more talent, a lot better pitching than the Cincinnati Reds. Then we have 2 p.m. on ABC. We have the Miami Marlins. Yes, the Miami Marlins facing against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. Again, that is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ABC. The Marlins and the Cubs have not met up in the playoffs since the Steve Bartman incident. For those of you that don't know about the Steve Bartman incident, you'll have to go to YouTube or something to look up the video as to what exactly happened, as I cannot put that on for copyright infringement, and I really don't want to deal with that. But what I can tell you about the Steve Bartman incident is basically he was wearing a Walkman, and the ball was heading in his direction, and he thought, at least from how it looked, he thought it was going to go into foul territory. It did not go into foul territory. In fact, it was a fair ball, and I believe it was Moises Sierra kind of freaked out and was like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he has more or less not shown his face to the public since. Quick fun fact, when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series in 2016 against the Indians, they did in fact offer Steve Bartman a World Series ring, and he turned it down. I do in fact have the Chicago Cubs winning this series for more than obvious reasons. One being the Miami Marlins acquired Starling Marte at the trade deadline, and he is actually down to injury. It is not clear if he will miss any time in the postseason or not, but in case he does, it's just not going to look good for them in that regard. And they also lost Jose Urena just yesterday against the New York Yankees, and he is actually done for the postseason and may or may not even be ready for spring training next season. So I am going to give the series to the Chicago Cubs. Next up is yet another team ending their postseason drought in the San Diego Padres, facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals at home. Kyung-Young Kim is going for the St. Louis Cardinals, and it is yet to be determined who will be the Game 1 starter for the San Diego Padres. Now, the San Diego Padres had easily the busiest trade deadline this season, but with that being said, Mike Clevenger is possibly out the entire postseason due to injury. Their biggest piece that they grabbed could possibly not even be playing and be a factor in their potential advancement in the playoffs. They will have Waino going in Game 2, I believe, followed by Jack Flaherty in Game 3 for the Cardinals, that is. Yep, and that is exactly what they're doing. So I do, however, see it going to a Game 3, number 1. And number 2, I have the Padres advancing. Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Jorge Mateo, Jurickson Profar, Will Myers, Eric Hosmer, Austin Nola, Jason Castro. Just absolutely insane players for the San Diego Padres. I see no reason they can't win this game, even against a team like Paul Goldschmidt, Colton Wong, Matt Carpenter, Adam Wainwright, etc., etc. So this game and series will go to the San Diego Padres. And the last NL series we have is the Milwaukee Brewers, who have yet to name their pitcher, going up against Walker Buehler in Game 1 and the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is 10 p.m. on ESPN. I have so many things I could say about this series, but I'm going to just simply leave it at this. The Los Angeles Dodgers have Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, Dustin May, Will Smith, Gavin Lux, Corey Seager, Justin Turner. The list goes on and on and on. I see no reason this team doesn't have a straight shot to the World Series. I mean, I'm sorry, but the Milwaukee Brewers are not going to stop them. So I'm giving this series in 2 games to the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, so we're going to jolt back up to the American League now. So I'm going to start with the other matchup than the number 1 seed, and that is the number 3 seed Twins against the number 2 seed Athletics. So this season, the Twins finished with a 36-24 record, and the Athletics also finished with a 36-24 record. So that is obviously one instance where the decision on how they were seeded came down to divisional as well as a couple other factors. This series is going to be tough. Both teams have been in the playoffs the last couple seasons, so they both have pretty decent playoff experience. I feel the Twins have a little bit more pop, especially with the likes of Josh Donaldson on their roster, as well as Nelson Cruz, as well as Max Kepler and a couple other players. As far as the Athletics, I feel pitching is going to be a little bit more their way to go. Their pitching hasn't been completely stellar this season, but especially if you go Jesus Luzardo against even someone like Michael Pineda Game 1, I feel like that'll give them an easy 1-0 advantage in the series. This one's tough, guys. This is obviously a best of 5, just like normal. I'm actually stumped on this series. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm going to give it to the Athletics. They've been considered one of the better teams in baseball all season long, and I think they can do it. Now, as for the number 1 seed, 40-20 Tampa Bay Rays, going up against the 33-27 number 5 seed New York Yankees. The Yankees have had a fit with Tampa Bay all season long. It hasn't subsided, not once. I feel like once the playoffs hit, the Yankees will be a different team. They showed it last year that once the playoffs roll, especially with Masahiro Tanaka, they are just absolutely lights out. Garrett Cole obviously has been a very strong piece in the playoffs for Houston the past couple of years. Now he's with us. I want to say we can beat Tampa Bay. I really want to say the Yankees can beat Tampa Bay. I'll give it to the Yankees. I definitely think it's going to go all 5 games, without a doubt in my mind. But I will give it to the New York Yankees. Next up, we have the number 1 seed, 43-17 LA Dodgers, rolling up against the number 4 seed, 37-23 San Diego Padres. I want to give it to the Padres, I really do, but I just cannot see the Dodgers losing to San Diego. I do have that going 4 games, with Padres winning 1 of the games, but I am going to give it to the Dodgers. The Chicago Cubs and the Atlanta Braves, I don't have a whole lot to say in this game. The Braves are just too good. Cubs had a great season under David Ross for his first season as a manager, but I definitely think that the Braves are just too unbeatable from a Cubs standpoint. So we will give it to the Braves. Back up to the American League, we have the Yankees facing off against the Athletics. That is going to be, I believe, in San Diego. And that one's going to be tough. That one is going to be really, really tough. That has Game 7 potential. Both of the rest of these series, honestly, have Game 7 potential. Definitely a Game 6 for sure, no matter who wins for this series in particular. I almost have to give it to the Athletics just because I think they're the better all-around team. Yankees bullpen has definitely struggled at times, especially Adam Ottavino. I'm going to say Ottavino and Sanchez get their heads out of their butts, and we'll give it to New York. And the Dodgers and the Braves, that one's going to be tough. But I'm going to duplicate my prediction from last year. At least I think this was my prediction from last year, if I remember correctly. I'm going to give it to the Braves. I think Braves take it in 7. They'll win it in Houston. And Atlanta will be back on top for the first time since the 90s. And we're going to give this series to the Dodgers. So we have the number 5 seed Yankees and the number 1 seed Dodgers in Arlington for the World Series 2020. I love my Yankees. I really do. But I cannot be biased on this prediction. Your Los Angeles Dodgers are your 2020 World Series champions. Their team is too good, all in all, through and through, to not win the World Series this fucking year. So that is my pick. The LA Dodgers win the World Series over the New York Yankees in 6 games. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say Max Muncy is the World Series MVP. Mark it. So those are my picks, guys, for the 2020 MLB postseason. I will do award predictions later on, MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, all that good stuff. But those are my picks. Be sure to drop your picks in the comments down below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. It is the number one way to help out the channel. Football prediction video coming later today, if not tomorrow. And I will be talking to you guys later. Peace. I'm out.